A Daughter of the Gods was the first major movie filmed in Jamaica. Kennedy has written a book to highlight this long-forgotten aspect of our Jamaican history, and this video is a summary of the book. A Daughter of the Gods was produced by Mr. William Fox, owner of Fox Film Corporation, and released in 1916. It would be an understatement to say that it took the American movie audience by storm. It costs an unheard of $1 million to produce and was filmed all over Jamaica, especially at its now world-famous beauty spots. Movie theaters were packed, and the film was a blockbuster that is reputed to have made significant profit. It wowed the audiences with fantastic dive sequences into exotic tropical waters. It is reputed to be the first major movie with artfully presented nude scenes from its leading star, Australian swimming sensation Annette Kellerman, a woman compared to Venus. Kennedy's book contains a look at the very early history of movie making and viewing in Jamaica. Since the earliest days of commercial filmmaking, there were exhibitions in Jamaica, but any recording on the island itself were mainly documentaries. However, in 1915, the movie The Flames of Passion was produced by Tom Terrace and is reputed to be the first movie drama filmed on the island. However, A Daughter of the Gods was the first major production. It employed over 20,000 locals. Its set was toured by Jamaica's governor, and there was a special viewing of the finished work by the President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson. The movie was produced before sound recording technology accompanied films and is therefore labeled today as a silent movie. However, when it was presented, it was state-of-the-art. Sadly, the film is completely lost. No one is sure how this happened, but back then, films were made of volatile material and were sometimes recycled. In the book, we try to recreate the movie using original stills and newspaper clips. AI was used only to color and clarify poor images. Images were not otherwise distorted and are historic. You may find reconstructions of the movie on YouTube, but none is 100% accurate. Our book tries to set the historical record straight and is written from a Jamaican point of view. Enjoy our book review.
We are not sure who exactly brought the first moving pictures to exhibit in Jamaica, but it was sometime in the late 1890s. Visiting exhibitors rented halls, courthouses, or schoolrooms in population centres for the entertainment. Exhibiting moving pictures were an instant hit on the island, but since most Jamaicans were rural, poor, illiterate, and lacking in access to electricity, it is doubtful the novelty was initially more than the entertainment of the urban, middle, and upper classes. Within a decade, crushing crowds anxiously attended moving pictures events to see news, sports, spectacles, and fantasies. All did not go smoothly. In 1909, there were reservations about showing the big fight from the USA. The fight had caused racial riots in the USA and depicted gambling, which was illegal in Jamaica. There were legal battles over Sunday shows, after all, it was a worship day, and generally there were concerns about the morality of items on screen. But movies were popular, particularly those about Christ. There was money to be made. Mr. Audley Morace and other local Jewish entrepreneurs are credited with developing the local movie viewing industry. By 1913, they had invested in the building of Jamaica's first purpose-built movie theatre, at or near where Carib Theatre stands today at Crossroads. While the showing of moving pictures happened early in Jamaica, the actual making of films in and about Jamaica is difficult to trace. Perhaps the first moving films of the island were made by American investors in the railway and bananas businesses. They could have been taken by some local British property owners, wealthy American tourists, or by some local still photo entrepreneur testing the new technology. We are not sure. What we are sure of is that local colonial leaders were anxious to use moving pictures to exhibit Jamaica as a tourist destination. Annually, they spent hundreds of pounds to produce promotional postcards and booklets. Photographers were invited to come to film the island. It was therefore no shock that Jamaica was eventually chosen as an ideal location to film exotic scenes for fantasy pictures. While documentaries were made of Jamaica, British actor, director, and general entrepreneur Tom Terrace is believed to be the first person to shoot a movie, a fantasy drama. He did so in 1915, starting with The Pearl of the Antilles and The Flames of Passion. The movies made by the British man, Tom Terrace, were a start, but they were small potatoes compared with what the Americans announced in August 1915. They announced that Jamaica would be the location where a major movie was to be filmed. It would be the greatest movie made to date and perhaps to be ever filmed. That announcement was only overshadowed by the war raging in Europe and by the American intervention in Haiti. Ships arrived carrying filming cast, crew, props, and equipment. Everything that was needed was imported, including animals and cars. The top local hotel, the Myrtle Bank, became somewhat the local headquarters of the film production, since the director and lead personnel all checked in there. The Rose Garden Theatre was taken over for technical production. American William Fox was the driving force and financier behind the movie, A Daughter of the Gods. In his mind, he, not the director, was also the creative genius behind it. Entertainment was his business. He founded the Fox Film Corporation in 1915 and the Fox West Coast Theatres chain in the 1920s. This movie was to be his second great triumph and moneymaker. Mr. Fox engaged Mr. Herbert Brenon as director for the movie. He, Brenon, had recently directed Fox's hugely successful film, Neptune's Daughter, 1914, that was filmed in Bermuda. The director was an Irishman who had migrated to the USA as a teen and grew up around theatres and on vaudeville. Though he received $750 per week while filming in Jamaica, this was his baby. It was his creation. His assignment was clear: to capitalize on and top the success of Neptune's Daughter. He planned to go all out and spare no cost. Annette Kellerman was the undisputed star and centerpiece of the movie. Before arriving in Jamaica, she was already a world-famous swimming sensation, beauty symbol, and now a movie star. This movie was to be water-themed and exhibit all her skills. In the past, her 3 attempts to swim the English Channel failed, but it drew huge crowds and sealed her name as a great woman swimmer. Ms. Kellerman eventually went to the USA, where her reputation increased. She was featured on vaudeville stages. Miss Kellerman is famous for establishing the one-piece bathing suit for women. She was arrested in Boston for wearing one, but soon the rules forcing women to wear full clothing while public bathing were relaxed. Annette's first major film was Neptune's Daughter, and it was in such demand people waited for hours to see it. Here we see Kellerman during the filming of the movie in Jamaica. A sea egg needle had injured her foot. Mr. Brenon on the left and photographer J. Roy Hunt in the middle are attending to her. Almost all movie promotions featured Kellerman. Ads were posted in the papers all over the USA from 1916 and into the early 1920s. Mr. William Shea was the leading man of the movie. Like Kellerman, he was also in the previous movie. He also faced the dangers of making the film in a time when there were no stunt doubles. Here, a camera captures him being rescued from drowning. In the movie, he plays Annetta's love interest. Other famous participants in the movie were the Lee sisters. They played multiple roles. Robert Hood was employed to write the score for the movie. He was a composer of some note. No two accounts of the plot of A Daughter of the Gods agree with each other. Perhaps this is because theatres were free to modify the flow of scenes based on their audience and costs, and that multiple releases were made. Herbert Brenon was both the director and writer of the movie, and he did not hold back on creating tons of scenes for his fantasy movie. It ended up being a very convoluted story. Essentially, the plot centres around a girl called Anicia. This role is played by swimming sensation Annette Kellerman. She is caught up between the real world of a sultan's kingdom and that of fairies, mermaids, witches, and gnomes. She swims, dives, and dances her way from scene to scene. In the end, there is an epic battle scene between forces for good and evil. The movie appears to have 6 distinct sequences or episodes. 1. The mermaid and water episode involving reincarnation. 2. A Moorish city with colourful life and activities of the Orient. 3. A harem scene with life, intrigue and amusements at the Sultan's court. 4. The fairy and witch episodes, with juxtaposition of good and evil worlds. 5. A Gnome City episode with 1,200 fanciful little people. 6. The great battle scenes, with 2 huge armies in conflict. The production crew and cast who arrived in Jamaica were charged to produce one main movie and a few smaller ones. We cannot find these other mini-movies. 4 shiploads of people and equipment arrived in Jamaica initially. At first, over 183 Jamaican locations were identified for scenes, but in the end, significantly less were used. We can confirm that filming took place at Landovery Falls, Don Christopher's Cove, Runaway Bay Beach, and at Dunn's River Falls. A mermaid scene was filmed at Mammy Beach among majestic coconut trees. It is claimed that 1/3 of the picture was filmed on Sir John Pringle's properties in and around Annette Bay. Filming also took place at Fern Gully. While the cast and crew of the movie were filming on the north coast of Jamaica, production crews worked tirelessly to transform Fort Augusta in Kingston Harbour into a huge Arabian fortress city. The vision of the director was nothing short of crazy. This was the largest fort in Jamaica. It was in a swamp and was abandoned for decades. This was where most of the cost of the movie went. By mid-1916, the movie was ready for release in the USA and England, but it had to overcome 2 major challenges. The first was a fallout between the movie's producer, William Fox, and its director, Herbert Brenon. The disagreement started over the tremendous cost the movie was racking up in Jamaica and expanded to include a dispute over who gets credit for making the movie. The second challenge was censorship. Though no one would have admitted it at the time, the nude scenes in the film were a major fuel of the film's success. The National Board of Censors was eventually persuaded to label the nude scenes artistic, and the movie went to the public unhindered. Over the next few years, ticket sales promotions were relentless, and promotional claims became increasingly fantastical. All sources agree that A Daughter of the Gods was a success. Indeed, the Indianapolis Star in 1924 reported that A Daughter of the Gods proved to be an outstanding success. The Coshocton Tribute newspaper said that the movie took the public by storm. The film was released again in December 1917, in August 1918, and in February 1920. Much of the data around the production cost and persons employed by A Daughter of the Gods appears to be promotional hype. One may legitimately question the costs of $1 million to produce and the use of 20,000 natives as hyperbolic, but the ads placed in the local newspapers put the number close. The local Jamaican newspaper, The Gleaner, stated that the final cost of the movie was £200,000. Other estimates are that the overall cost of production was about $908,000 in wages, rentals, and materials. The addition of promotion and distribution costs across the USA increased the total cost to about $1,400,000. It is reported that the movie made a net profit of $1.35 million. Not a bad return on investment. It is difficult to say exactly what impact the film, A Daughter of the Gods, had on Jamaica outside of the immediate wages and rentals collected between 1915 to 1916. We can note that thousands of native Jamaicans were employed by the movie makers. They were extras, construction workers, shark killers, test divers, and support staff. Hundreds of animals and boats were rented to produce various scenes. Colonial landowners were paid for use of their space. Hotels and auxiliary services benefited. Sadly, there are reports of injuries and even deaths occurring on set. Jamaicans in 1916 were more concerned about the major war raging in Europe, later to be called World War I, than about the antics of the rich Americans. The colonial elite were hoping the movie would promote Jamaica's tourism, but the Americans who made the film soon went on to other projects. After over 100 years, A Daughter of the Gods is still the largest and the most extensive feature movie to have been filmed on the island. This movie was the first to bring Jamaica to the ordinary North American public and to cement the island in their psyche as an exotic and beautiful place to dream of visiting.
Thanks for watching our review of the book, A Daughter of the Gods, the 1916 blockbuster movie filmed in Jamaica. Now please consider purchasing this and other historical works by Kennedy Reid. There is a book about Kitson Town, a free village in St. Catherine, Jamaica, established by the Baptist missionary, Reverend James Filippo, for former enslaved Africans. We trace the history of the villagers from Africa to the estates and see what became of the villagers. There is also a book about the history of Portmore, a municipality on the island established in 2003, but with rich roots going back to the conquest of Jamaica by the English. All these books are available for purchase. Kennedy is an amateur historian who enjoyed presenting these works to you. He ensures that all information presented is referenced and authentic. If you have enjoyed this presentation, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and copy the link to others. Every blessing to you.